are simple patterns that you can see and you can hear to help guide you, and history provides that. Now, I was there as a new stockbroker. I mean, frankly, I've been studying these markets on some level since 1964. And I was a relatively new stockbroker during Black Monday in 1987. And I can tell you that in the morning, everything just looked normal. I went out for lunch, and pardon me, but all hell broke loose. The brokers were literally under their desks. They're not talking to any clients. Why? Because they were really never trained in how you read and understand the language of the markets. Wall Street doesn't want any of us to know that, because when we're immune or blind to it is really a better way. When we're blind to it, that means that they can do anything they want and get away with it. So you guys know my work is about showing you those underlying patterns. And here's a pattern that we're going to talk about today, which is how you identify a financial bubble. There's lots of data on it, but look at this hockey stick pattern. Now we're going to move forward, look at two of the past bubbles, and look at where we are today. And maybe you can see what is the next most likely outcome, because I personally believe, and if you believe like I do, that we are very, very close to the reset. Then you want to make sure that you are properly positioned, not just to weather it, but actually to benefit from it. So let's begin. First, we're going to take a look at 1929, but we're going to go back just a little bit before the crash happened. And look at what you see. The bull market, the biggest bull market. Now, what did they do to generate that bull market? First of all, they expanded credit and they started to develop a consumer-driven economy. So buy now, pay later. Guess what? We're about to pay, and so were they. So you can see that the public, who really wasn't in the market too much prior to that, they participated in a very aggressive way. The insiders sold out to the naive public that had no idea what they're doing. Look at this hockey stick. Can you see that? Okay. And that means that all fair valuations were blown out the window. This time it's different. But what was really happening was they were making a transition from a good money standard that protected the public to a fiat money standard that left the public's wealth at risk of transfer. And they did it invisibly using debt and credit. Once enough risk was transferred from the few, from the guys that bought down here and knew what they were manipulating, to the many, to the public, well, what happened then? Obviously, the credit dried up, the markets imploded, wiping people out with it. But you know, they thought it was different this time. Was it? No, not different. Okay, well, let's look at 99, which was the second largest bull market in history. Same kind of behavior. Isn't that interesting? What I love is that 3 currency crises were absolutely ignored, just like they ignored all the signals in the 20s about what was really happening. Values didn't matter anymore. They went to dizzying heights, and that enticed more participation. So what were they doing in addition to that? Well, they created the IRAs and they went away from defined benefit pension plans into contribution plans, the 401ks. So that also, a defined benefit puts risk on the corporations. A defined contribution puts risk on you. And that's exactly what they did. They transferred the risk from the few to the many, got the public to participate in this. You know, really, was this time different? I don't think so. This time was not different, and again, it was the public that got wiped out as the insiders sold into the public. Can you see these patterns? not different. So where are we today? Well, you know, according to Larry Kudlow, who is the top advisor to President Trump, and President Trump too, frankly, this is the best economic boom in history. And certainly all of the markets are making new highs. But I think you can see the hockey sticks in everything. Here's the hockey sticks in corporate earnings. Because as we were moving to globalization, all of the manufacturing transferred to markets where employment costs were wage costs were very, very low. So that transfers the risk and it takes the power away from the public. Can't really bargain if they've got a cheaper alternative. But it certainly helped the corporations. So what are the insiders doing now? With the greatest corporate profit boom in history, I mean, we can see it, certainly since the crisis in 2008's bottom, we can see all of the different tools, the repatriation, the tax law changes, reducing the regulations, all of these tools that are designed to keep the market's moving up so the public is blinded to the risk transfer and the risk to their wealth and the future of their family. And let's look at the fact, I mean, think about this. We all know prices don't matter anymore. There's no good price discovery because these markets are so high and so manipulated. We now have corporations that are worth over $1 trillion. Well, guess what? It was into these markets and making sure the corporates maintained their profit at the expense of the public, whose wages have certainly not grown as quickly as corporate profits have grown, right? Yet they still have to pay the inflated prices from all of this. But they've transferred the risk on so many levels. I show you that all the time. From the few, from the corporations, to the public, to the many. They certainly have provided ample credit. We're going to show you and talk more about that next week when we look at the true state of the consumer, because that's really who's left holding this entire bag. What we don't know is the risk transfer complete yet? Because once that is completed, when they feel they've transferred enough risk from the few to the many, from the elite to the public, and it becomes too expensive to maintain the charade, that, my dear, is when you will see the crash. Right now, they have a lot at stake. They have these are just the retirement assets. Where all the pension and all of the IRA and all the 401k money? Where is that? Well, that's in fiat money products. And once it's in there, that means they can borrow, leverage, use it. We talk about this. I show you this all the time. That's the hidden stuff. But look at this pattern. This is the debt levels. That's a hockey stick. These are the stock markets. That's a hockey stick. Can you see that pattern? And what do you hear? You hear that these markets are the best in the world. There's no place else to go. People have been really brainwashed into thinking there is no other options but fiat money products. Is it really that these corporations in these markets are worth that much more wealth, or that the currency has declined that much, less than 4% remaining? So when these markets plummet, just like they will, they're severely overvalued. Who's going to be left holding the bag? The public, because they always are. So you know that I always talk about looking at what the smart money is doing for themselves. The elite money is buying into the physical gold market, the collectible market that's up at the highest level, Only they can afford it. It's invisible to the general public. The spot market, which is where we see it in the manipulated spot market, because that's just a contract, that's not the real physical gold. This is the real physical gold, and in very limited supply. This is paper gold in unlimited supply. They can sell as much of it as they want. It doesn't have to exist, okay? And what we see here is an accumulation pattern, in fact, a double cup, which frankly, in my career, looking at all of the other graphs on the fiat markets, I've never seen before. This is powerful. This is telling you what the smart money is doing. They're accumulating at a bargain level. And then this bottom chart is where the cheap collectible coins are. So this can be manipulated and also is forming a double cup. Powerful accumulation. And I can't prove this, but I would bet that those that are buying up here are accumulating the Hades out of down there. And I want to be in the same category that the guys that can control this stuff. What are they doing for themselves? That's where I want to be.